Okay, so again, welcome to our second Lunch with LEC series. I'm Kate Brock, the Executive Director of the Community Education Center and also an alumni from the Leadership Program. I will be the technical moderator for today. This is a modified version of our regular 10-month Leadership Elk-Cameron program, and we're excited to share just a few of the highlights from that program with you all this year through these virtual 1-hour sessions. The Leadership Elk-Cameron program began in 2007 when local leaders recognized the need to more deliberately provide opportunities for community awareness, leadership development, and civic readiness. To date, we have almost 200 alumni from the program, and the program is coordinated by a large network of alumni and volunteers. And we are actually now accepting applications already for next year's program. So you can go to communityedcenter.com to take a look at the program materials and the application for next year. And also one more thing before we get started on the tour is that we are excited to announce that we have several opportunities for participants like yourselves to receive local gift cards, discounted or free tuition for next year's leadership program. And it's very simple to do that. Just make sure you complete the evaluations after each session. And then each month when you complete the evaluation, your name will be entered in a drawing for some local gift cards. We want to show the support for our local businesses this year. If you attend and complete the evaluation for 5 or more of these sessions, including last month's, then you will receive a certificate of participation and a coupon for 25% off next year's tuition. And then finally, for those of you who attend 5 or more sessions, once again, and complete the evaluations, you'll get entered to win a grand prize drawing, which is free tuition for next year's program. I see a couple of alumni on here already. Hello, Greg Stoffer and Jen Dippold. And so if you are an alumni of the program and you attend these, you still are offered the discount and the free tuition, and you can give that to another community member. All right, so without further ado, today's session is recycling. Let's talk trash with Becky Titchener. And a couple of our leadership advisory volunteers and alumni are there on site at the Elk County Recycling Center right now. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Maloney and Sheila Singer at the Recycling Center. And they will take you on the tour. So Mary, Sheila, and Becky, welcome.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sheila Singer from the Elect Advisory Board, and I'm here with Becky Titchener from the Elk County Recycle Center. And Becky is going to give us a virtual tour today, and I am going to turn it over to Becky. Becky, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us again. This is one of our most, I guess, anticipated tours of the year because we have so much fun. However, typically what we've done in the past was have the LEC group through Wednesday morning before we open. So this is all brand new on a lot of different levels. We opened at noon, so it's going to be noisy, and you should see folks come through with their recycling and our staff and volunteers unloading cars. I have been the recycling coordinator in Elk County for 21 years, and 10 years ago, we took the huge step of opening up a recycling center. For those of you who have been avid recyclers for a long time, that place was over at the Stackpole Complex. It was one of the old industrial buildings over there. And next year, I already told Sheila, when we do this again, we'll all be able to get together. I will have some wonderful photos of what we endured for 6 years there before we ended up here. But the whole idea is to have a place where people can drop off as many different types of materials as possible in a rural setting. We have a very small county. There's only about 30,000 of us. So what we did 10 years ago was open up a center that was centrally located, and St. Mary's made the most sense because not only does it have almost half the population, it also is pretty much in the center of the county. And we take a lot of different materials here. We want to do as much as we can, so when people drive here, they don't have to drive 5 other places to get rid of their stuff. So let's start. And please, Mary, let me know if I'm going too fast because this is all new. What an adventure we're having today. So we have a drive-through, and the drive-through enables people to actually safely navigate the building, and they don't even have to get out of their cars if they don't want to. We have volunteers and staff that will unload cars. At the beginning of the drive-through, we have paper commodities. So we have newsprint here. So there's 2 bins of newsprint. And behind our 2 volunteers is a bin for mixed paper and a bin for office paper. We can take a peek at that here. We hand sort everything. It is tedious work. However, in this age where the commodities are not going over to the Pacific Rim any longer, it enables us to sell all our materials. We separate our newspapers and sell them separately, and that's a great market for us. But we end up with really good pricing on our newspapers. So what these folks boxes, brown paper bags, magazines, catalogs, cardstock, all these types of things are considered mixed paper. Over here is office paper. So we try and separate out office paper to just have the white paper because we get the best price for it. Because we have a dedicated group of volunteers, we are able to separate like this. And because we can do this, we get better pricing for our commodities. This is a really good commodity in terms of pricing. This gives us the least amount of payback, but it also is something we can still market. And back here is cardboard. Corrugated cardboard, which people always ask about. Corrugated cardboard has the ridges in the middle. So we separate corrugated all by itself. And we noticed over the years that people have started to shop more online. But since COVID, we have gotten an enormous amount of residential cardboard. I would say that this baler produces probably 1.5 tons of cardboard every week because so many people are buying things online. And it used to be something we would see at Christmas time, but now it's constant. Amazon, Walmart, Chewy, all the different food services that people are getting refrigerated items and things like that. It's amazing how much cardboard we're getting. So that's separated out by itself as well. Okay. And I don't know how easy it would be to answer questions along the way, but Mary, if anybody has any, we could answer them. Okay. We also do shredded paper. So if anyone has shredded paper at their home, all we ask is that it's just bagged up, and we can take care of that as well. this is a really important component of our operation. Because this is a voluntary program, no one actually has to come here. And what people do from all over the county and other counties. We take donations, we welcome donations, and they help, bridge the gap. All the money we get to donations goes right back to the program. So everything that comes through the door is used to sustain this program. We got folks working in plastic, and we could actually do a whole program on just how to recycle plastic correctly because it's confusing. We separate our plastic 4 different ways. This is known as PET plastic, and it's the only type of plastic that actually retains carbonation. Pop, water, juice, those types of things come in this type of container. Okay, PET plastic is clear and it's color. This type of plastic is called HDPE. This is actually the most valuable plastic at this point, and it's mostly milk jugs. Although we have brownie bottles, a lot of vinegar, other, sunny D, things like that. So we separate this is sold like this. The PET's sold together, and then over here is the HDPE that's covered. We separate this out because we get pricing if we separate it. There's some places that actually bale it all together, but the pricing is a lot less. So we're trying to get the most bang for our buck. And I would say this probably a dozen times today. We could not do this way without volunteers. So that's a volunteer. John's a volunteer. Everybody at that paper table is a volunteer. And they are dedicated, they are wonderful, and we could not run this private facility without them. Behind this table, we also do number 5 plastics, and we're one of the few places in this whole region that will do it. Come on back here. Number 5 plastic is a lot of things. It's Kool-Aid containers, it's yogurt containers, it's cat litter boxes, and the only thing that's necessary for number 5 plastic is that it's actually marked number 5 with a PP on it, which is polypropylene. So we separate out this type of plastic, and we started doing it a long time ago, and Diane and I would sit in the office and put it all together and package it up and send it to a company called Preserve. Now we had to pay for all of this. And then once we actually opened up the recycling center and started to get large quantities of it, we actually bale this material just like the other plastic, and we sell it. We sell it by the bale. So we're able to find a market for this. They actually are always looking for number 5 plastic because it's a good market, but there's not a lot of places that actually recycle it.
I see she was pulling out containers that your plants came in the spring.
Yes, some of those are 5. So the thing with number 5s is it doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter what shape it is. As long as it's marked polypropylene number 5, we can take it. So yes, a lot of the hanging baskets are 5s. The hanging basket hangers are also number 5s. Blue Bunny containers are 5s. A lot of fast food cups, so like sheets and McDonald's and things like that, they are also number 5.
So Becky, polypropylene is also recycled into clothing, and I see carpeting and rugs, outdoor rugs. Is that right?
Some of that is, yeah, or it's recycled right back into, you know, some containers like the pots and stuff like that. They're just non-food items.
Right.
So yeah, polypropylene is used for a lot of different applications like that. PET plastic is also used for clothing. Polartex fleece is made from recycled PET bottles. A lot of carpeting is also made from recycled PET bottles. Number 2 plastics go into lumber. Plastic lumber, they go into plastic bags, they go into dividers, furniture, things like that. The problem with plastic is that we've created so many plastics that cannot be recycled because of how they're made, or that there's no application for it afterwards. It's estimated that of all the plastic ever created since we started manufacturing it, only 9% has ever been recycled. That's going back to the beginning of plastic manufacture, which is really kind of dismal. So there's a huge move at getting rid of the single-serve plastics just because we create so many. And with COVID, single-use plastics have gone through the roof because people are at home. People are encouraged to use the plastic bags again in the grocery stores. So I think there are a lot of strides that were made in the last couple of years that are now been erased because of the pandemic. So steel cans, metal cans, those types of things. Aluminum cans, beverage cans like beer and pop. And we'll go across and hope we don't get run over. Markets are different for different types of materials. So here we have lots and lots of cat food containers because kitties in Elk County are treated pretty well. So this is a market all by itself. And then a long time ago, the Benedictine sisters, when they had that superb recycling program, they recycled aluminum foil, pie tins, things like that. But when they stopped that program, some of our patrons said, can you continue to take these types of materials? So we do. Obviously, it's not a great big money maker, but it also does not involve any labor other than someone putting it in the box. All our metals are marketed locally at Premier, so that's where they go, and we sell them here. But so if anybody has anything like this, they don't have to throw it away. Well, we can take it here, and it's amazing how much we can get. We're going to go down here and hope we don't get run over. Those select folks who are listening now who are older, like some of us, will remember these televisions. They're tube TVs. You want to turn that around, Mary? There's another one waiting. And we got to get out of the way because Nick's got to put it right here. We have been doing electronics. First, it's Stackpole, starting in June of 2004, continuously till today. And each year, we get almost 250,000 pounds of electronics. They're not only coming from Elk County, they're coming from surrounding areas. We're one of the few places in the state of Pennsylvania where you can take all these materials. And we can go back here where it's a little quieter and talk about electronics. So I think it's very easy. Diane is staff here. And when we package our electronics, they have to be packaged in a specific manner for the company that we contract with. Diane wishes she had $1 for every time she went around TV. She would be very rich. When we first started, there were no flat screens. We get them by the boatload now. They don't last as long as those by any stretch. Typically, most of the tube TVs that we get here still work after 20, 30 years, some of them. Flat screens just have a lot shorter life expectancy. When we take our electronics, we got to package them in a certain way. So we'll follow Diane in a minute. She's going to go back. This has to get shrink wrapped. And once we go down to the other side of the building, you can see the stack of electronics waiting to go out in the truck. Tomorrow, actually, we're taking the tractor trailer out. All the small flat screen TVs go in here. And we have mixed electronics like stereos and radios and telephones and stuff. Dish receivers, those go in there. You have mixed household, you have a toaster oven or, a drill, or those are sewing machines, things like that. These are actually marketed locally to Premier. Everything else, other than the microwaves, are going to our contractor, which is ELOOP. And ELOOP operates out of State College in Pittsburgh. So we got lots and lots of printers. We have flat screen monitors. When we first started, it was a thrill to get a flat screen anything. If we call the contractor, hey, we got a flat screen today. Now we get so many. And these are the baby tube TVs. So we get them. Keyboards and mice are separated out.
So Becky,
Yes,
all the front of these containers are marked.
correct. For what commodity goes in them.
Yes.
And they're all weighed out. Okay. So at the end of the year, we get documentation from our recycler as to how many pounds of keyboards and mice and speakers we did, how many pounds of printers, how many pounds of tube TVs, things like that. So electronics is labor intensive. We make absolutely $0 on this commodity. We are just lucky that we don't have to pay to get rid of them. Diane is over there shrink wrapping. The shrink wrapper was part of a grant from the Stackpole Hall Foundation. Before that, we had to do it by hand. So, yay, Stackpole Hall Foundation. It turns the job into something that's a lot easier. Dan is one of our volunteers, and he almost exclusively works doing electronics, bulbs and batteries. He's really good at it. He knows where things go, and he's just another one of our dedicated volunteers. He shows up almost every day that we're open to help us get the job done. This area isn't open to the public. This is where we store electronics. This is where we store fluorescent lamps. I'm hoping we still have signal over here.
We're down to like 2 bars, so I don't want to go any further than what we're at.
All right, okay, Mary. You can see the fluorescent lamps in those boxes. So we have a lot of businesses that recycle their fluorescent lamps with us, and that's one of the reasons we actually started doing this material back in, I think, 2006, because smaller businesses especially needed an outlet to recycle these materials because they contain mercury. So a lot of what we get in this type of waste is from our local plants. We have every type of battery we take, and all those batteries have to be separated out by what they are. It's tedious. The button cells have to be separated out. Lead acid, the rechargeables, the non-rechargeables, lithium ion, nickel metal hydride. It is something that is DOT, so they have to be separated that way for transport. And we contract with a hazardous waste hauler to take care of that. If we could go in there, you could see our biomass, but we tried that when you guys were here and we completely lost signal.
And that's through that door right there.
That's through that door. It's a huge wood burner essentially. And it is what was manufactured here when we got the building. It had been used by Advanced Recycling. They're a manufacturer of biomass furnaces and grinders. When it gets cold, we'll fire that up. It will keep this whole building, which is over 30,000 square feet, in the mid 60s on like a 10-degree day. It's an amazing heat. And we have been fortunate over the years to get some substantial grants from the West Penn Power Sustainable Energy Fund. All this is because of that. This biomass system was just used by Advanced Recycling to test different types of feedstocks in the machine. What would burn the best? What would get the most BTUs? What was the most efficient? So it was never really set up to heat the building. So we decided that we wanted to use this as our main heat source in the winter. So we were fortunate to work with West Penn Power Sustainable Energy Fund to get some grants. We actually have another one that we're working on right now to do some upgrades outside, and next year we'll talk about that one. But that is that. But we also have radiant heat, and that is natural gas, and that is also due to a generous grant from the Stackpole Hall Foundation. I cannot stress enough how much that the Stackpole Hall Foundation supported this program. I mean, they have been so kind to us over the years in moving from the Stackpole complex to here and helping us with some of the nuts and bolts of this building to make it not only efficient, but nice to work in, since most of our volunteers are older folks. Before we started, Sheila and I were talking, and when we opened in Stackpole in October of 2010, the space we were in had no heat. So that first winter, we had some torpedo heaters, and our volunteers would show up and they were in their winter coats and gloves because it was, I don't know even why they showed up. I don't know why they stuck with us, but they did. And so this is kind of like giving them a nice gift every time they come in at work. It's a nice place to work. But so this is this section, and we'll go over to processing now, and we'll do that. Wednesday is typically our busiest day of the week. We will have between 200 and almost 300 people on a Wednesday. Yeah. We're open for 7 hours. A lot of people build that into their work schedule. You know, after work, they show up with their recycling and go home, or they show up and then they go to work. Typically, during the course of a week, we have about 500 cars through here. Fran's another one of our volunteers. It was suggested by our conservation district. Kate Whaler is the district manager, and she went to a program that talked about volunteerism. And I think I'll take her suggestion on focusing, you know, different weeks on different volunteers, because everybody's here because they want to be. Everybody has a different story, but everybody's wonderful to work with. So Fran typically stays at the paper table, like John Calla back here works plastic almost all the time, and he's really good at it. And we're just so happy that we have them all. Come on. works every Wednesday. Linda works every day or open typically. Jerry is, I think Jerry's been here since we almost started 10 years ago. Jerry's our longest serving volunteer. Yeah, Jerry was at Stackpole, freezing, standing at the table helping us sort things. So he's been with us for 10 years. We've added things over the years. When we got here, we were able to have storage space for books, and we'd had a lot of libraries say, you know, is there a place for us to take books because we don't want to throw them away? So we found a market for books. Sometimes we can get a couple bucks a ton for them. Sometimes it's just a pass through, but that's okay because it means that either they're going to get reused or they're going to get repulped into paper and not thrown in a landfill. So we do the books, and for those folks who like books and like to read, it's a bad thing or a good thing, because a lot of our books go home and they get read a couple more times before they get brought back here. There are things that we would love to do if we had the ability to have some sort of a reuse section, have something that we could do with latex paint, you know, reuse for people who have a project. At this point, we don't have the ability to do that, but you know, those are the long-term plans, because we look to the future. And 10 years ago, if you would have told me that we would be standing here in this beautiful building with all this equipment, all these wonderful folks helping us, I wouldn't have believed it. But so who knows what will happen in the next 10 years. But those are the books. We send them out about once a year. A lot of the libraries we have libraries in Jefferson, McKean, Clearfield, and Elk County using this, as well as some of the schools. These are the electronics waiting to go. We send out a tractor trailer sometimes every couple of weeks. They just don't slow down. When we were all in lockdown and we actually had to go to a drop-off system out front, for a couple months we couldn't take any electronics. We deal with our schools. All this material is from the Ridgeway School District. They bring it over in a trailer, and our volunteers will go through this and separate out all the different types of paper. So the schools bring us their material. They're not throwing it away, and we're getting commodity to sell. So it's a very, very good thing. This is where it all happens. This is where we get things ready for sale. So other than books and electronics, everything else gets baled. And that is how recycling is sold. And the bales have to be a certain width and height and weight. And weight's the most important thing, because we have to put at least 40,000 pounds on a truck. In the last 2 days, we have taken out 90,000 pounds of cardboard. So when you go back here, there won't be much cardboard sitting around, because we just took out 2 tractor trailer loads. We're getting a lot of cardboard now that our plants are back operational. Prior to that, most of our cardboard was just coming from residents, from the stuff that they were getting while they were at home. we've made really good use of local funding as well as state funding. And the local funding has been, you know, through the Elk County Community Foundation and through Sackville Health Foundation. The state funding has been through the Department of Environmental Protection through their recycling grants. So we try and mix and match that. Some of those things need a match locally, and that's really never a problem because there's always something that we have to purchase or maintain in this facility. This is where everything is processed. Speaking of those grants, we were able to use the price we paid for this as match for a state recycling grant. And this keeps our facility really, really clean. We're notorious as being one of the cleanest recycling centers in this region. And because we're limited with staff and we don't want things to get away from us, we try and keep this place organized. So we took out a lot of cardboard. We're still working on our next load. This is the office paper we have, and you can see the shredded paper sometimes in the middle. Sometimes there's a whole bale of shredded paper. And a lot of that we get from our local industry and businesses. They can drop off, and some of the schools, and a lot of people shred their own documents, and they bring those in as well.
Can you go over and stand by that stack to show everybody how tall that is?
It's a lot taller than me.
Let me back up a little. You can see it's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. They're 5 high, and each bale of office paper is typically over 1,300 pounds, so it's over half of a ton. Wow. So as those green containers get filled, we'll go around and show you where they end up. And I know we're going to run out of time because I talk too much. Look at that. This is all the mixed paper that we do. Now, mixed paper is the cheapest grade of paper that we sell, but that's okay because we have a market for it. People have a place to recycle it, and it doesn't get thrown away. We do not take anything at this facility that we cannot find a market for. And I know there's still that line of thought that, well, what really happens to it? Does it get recycled or does it get landfilled? If it's coming here, this is what happens to it, and it gets sold. And it's a lot of work to get it to this point. So this is basically all the people separating that material out the 3 days we're open. Now, this is the newest piece of machinery that we got, and boys really like this. Come on, you gotta come and check it out. Because we have so much manufacturing, these are really heavy. And prior to, we had to load them into that baler almost one at a time. It would take forever. It was definitely not ergonomically good. So we were able to get grant funding for a cardboard shredder.
We'll show you another one. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's like the Cookie Monster.
Oh, it's
cookies.
awesome. So Mr. Kerner can just stand here and load them up, and nobody has to stand and try and put them into the baler. And all that banding there, we actually chop up, which was another small grant from the Elk County Community Foundation for this little chopper. And we can look at that, and we can sell this. And we're trying to be efficient machine is used just for cardboard. This machine is used for everything else. So when those big green bins get filled down there, they get dumped on the back end of these bins here. And when we have enough to do a bale, they will use the skid steer, which is probably over there, and dump it into this machine. And that's how all these other commodities get baled. This machine was through a state grant. This machine over here was the first Stack Hole Foundation grant we got. And if it wasn't for that grant and that machine, I don't think we ever would have moved forward, because the baler is a workhorse. It's much easier to get a bale of material out on a horizontal baler. It comes out it's horizontally rather than the little baler that's down in the drive-through. And that made the biggest difference. That made a huge difference in moving us forward. So when we have drop-offs across the county, they get dropped off out there. I don't know if you want to go up to the top, Mary, or not.
What time do we got?
Probably not.
Yeah, we have 13 minutes.
Oh my gosh, we have all the time in the world.
All right, let's go for a walk.
Well, our volunteers staff the drive-through. The paid staff works on the sort line, and Dave, who's just came over here, is the plant manager here. So we always say he's the responsible one. If something goes wrong, he's responsible.
I'll try not to trip everybody.
Don't trip. So it's nice and quiet here. We had to have that working so everybody could see how fun it is, and it makes the job a lot easier and safer. And the bales are actually 300 pounds heavier. So this door's open. The big roll-off containers get dumped on this pad.
I hope the outdoor light doesn't blind everybody, but that's
You see, and we use the skid steer to dump them in the hopper. It comes up the conveyor, and all depending on what commodity we're doing is where we're standing on this. And we separate up here. And this is something that staff does. When we were in lockdown, we processed between March and I'm trying to think when we reopened to the public. The end of May, beginning of June, we processed well over 100 roll-off containers. We're doing it every day because people were still able to recycle. And we were all very happy that we were able to continue to offer that service. But this is how we separate everything. And there it is. Material's ready to go. We have enough for a tractor trailer load of mixed paper right now. We almost have enough for another load of #1 plastic, PET plastic. And we deal with several different brokers. And typically, our stuff doesn't go too far away. The PET plastic goes to Ohio, and actually the company that we sell to makes plastic strapping. So they will get all those little containers, if you can see that down there, Mary, of all that strapping that's been chopped up. We sell that to them. And our #2 plastic and our #5 plastic, it gets sold through a broker out of New York City. And sometimes that goes down south to some plastics processors there. We deal with a broker out of Lock Haven and one out of Pittsburgh for our cardboard. So I know, almost 10 minutes. Yeah, we could do that. We could actually do questions here. It's nice and quiet. If anyone has questions before the day gets away from us.
Yeah.
Hi, Becky, Mary, and Sheila. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, great. So we had someone ask, what days and hours can people volunteer? And is there a particular day or time that you need more volunteers more so than others?
Well, we tell people if they have an hour when we're open and they can volunteer, we would welcome them with open arms. Um, Wednesday's typically our busiest day, and on Wednesday we lose the early group of volunteers about 3 o'clock, and the night shift comes in about 4:30 or 5. So if somebody has time on Wednesday between 3 and 5, they'd be welcome to come. But we definitely will take volunteers anytime that they can volunteer, because we're just happy to have the help. We have one lady that comes from Clearfield, PA, because she feels that it's really important, and it's real sweet that she makes that drive over here. So we get folks like Linda that works every day as a volunteer, or Fran that can only work a few hours on a Wednesday. So it doesn't matter. We will take you, we will give you a mask, we will give you gloves and a vest and put you to work.
So there are opportunities to volunteer even when the center is not open for drop-offs?
Typically we don't do that because it's mostly just staff doing that. Now I will say that if something happened and we had to go back into lockdown again and put those containers back out in the parking lot, you know, we may entertain volunteers to help us then. But it's typically Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You know, Monday and Friday 10 to 2, and Wednesday from noon until 7.
And then also another question here. Someone asked if you could touch a little bit about Ridgeway. Did you put you put 2 collection bins out, right?
Yes. So Ridgeway went offline. What we started doing was the municipalities that host the drop-offs were reimbursing us for the cost of transporting the materials here so that we could process them. Ridgeway went offline earlier this year, and what had happened was that most recently Ridgeway Borough decided, because its residents really wanted recycling returned, that they would put the drop-off back. So the Ridgeway drop-off is now off of Gillis Avenue in Ridgeway. It's across from where motion control used to be. And they have a little green sign for the center. It's right before you get to the church that's on the right side of Gillis Avenue. And I think it might be Living Waters Church, but I'm not sure. So that site is back up. It is for Ridgeway Borough residents only, because the borough opted to fund it for the remainder of the year. So at this point, it's a borough resident site only, and all the materials are back: the paper, the cardboard, plastic, cans, and glass, and it's open 24/7.
Wonderful. Great. So volunteers, keep that in mind for those of you that participated today. So if anyone knows any college students or who are home and kind of bored, you know, of sitting, you know, just doing their studies, you know, send them down to Becky. Also high school students. I know some schools are still requiring community service hours for their students, and they don't have as many opportunities at the school districts as they usually would, you know, in terms of scoring games and things like that. So I know a lot of high school students are looking for new opportunities, different opportunities to volunteer. And, you know, and I think what also is so important is the donations box. And Mary, thank you for zeroing in on that when you, you know, our communities are very lucky to have this service. And as you all could see today, it's very much based on volunteers. So it runs on a shoestring budget. And so, so I think, you know, just even small donations when you drive through, even just $1, it just shows, I think, the county, and it shows the grantors that the residents really truly appreciate this service, and they don't just treat it like it's you know, their kind of garbage pickup.
Yeah. People are very, very good in terms of giving us clean material. They're great in giving us donations, and like you said, it's important to grantors that we show that there's community support when we're asking for money for something new.
Yeah. And Kate, did you see the chat from Ron?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. So Ron Hammersley says, I just visited North Carolina, and this is all mandatory there. Fantastic work being done in Elk County. The message just needs to be impressed on the community of how important this work is. Thank you and great job.
Well,
So
thank you.
to do
Yes.
that speaks well for our region. And one more question. You showed the office, the shredded office paper. Do
Yes.
you shred paper there? No.
We do not, simply because we have a couple of private companies that do a lot of paper shredding. McGrath Accounting in Ridgeway does an enormous amount of shredding. Now, I'm not sure whether it's just from the clients they have or whether they actually will take shredding from the public in general and charge a fee for that. Also, Archives Management Warehouse in Brockport does, well, that's their whole business really is paper shredding. So we do not get into that because we have two private companies that actually do that service.
All right, I don't see any other questions coming through the chat. So thank you very much. It's 12:56. I'm just going to make a concluding remarks here. Becky, great job. Mary, thank you for operating the camera. Sheila was good tech support. She and I were texting sometimes back and forth, so thank you. You did a great job. And to our participants, thank you so much for joining us today. We will be following up with an email. I'll provide some information about the Recycling Center, a link to their Facebook page, a reminder about their hours, and then also a link to our session evaluation. So again, as I said in the opening today, there are a few incentives that we put into place for those of you who participate on these monthly sessions. If you complete the evaluations, you will get entered to win a gift certificate to a local. You'll get entered to win or earn a certificate of participation for this series, and 25% off tuition for next year. And also prize drawing in June. If you participate in 5 or more and do the evaluations, you will get a free tuition for the next year's Leadership Elk-Cameron program. And finally, if you haven't already signed up for next month's session, we're really looking forward to the communications and public speaking session that we would normally do for our program. This year, we're going to do for the Lunch with LEC series, Speaking Without a Net, Mastering the Art of Impromptu Speaking. And I promise we won't just blind pick on anybody. We will, we'll rely on ourselves and kind of do some off the cuff practicing on impromptu speaking, and hopefully give you guys a couple of tips along the way. All right, well, once again, thank you for joining us. Thanks again to Becky and Mary and Sheila there on site at the Recycling Center. And if we don't see you all before then, we'll see you all hopefully next month.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.